everyone, I'm Tahlia, Korin, and I wanted to say thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. So I've just returned from a trip called March to the Living about 4 weeks ago. March to the Living is a 2-week annual trip that is traveled by 20,000 Jewish teens from across the world. The first week, we gather together to commemorate the dead by walking through the concentration camps in Poland. And the second week, we unite in Israel in order to celebrate our existence. 4 weeks is an insufficient amount of time to accurately judge the impact of my trip. These past 4 weeks, I've been extremely busy coming to terms with the fact that I'm no longer dancing in the streets of Israel on Yom Ha'atzmaut. I'm not walking through the markets, and I'm not standing on Ben Yehuda Street. I'm in fact here in Indianapolis, Indiana. I've been busy attempting to be excited about graduating high school and trying not to find the senior celebrations trivial and meaningless in comparison to my trip. I've been extremely busy attempting to assimilate back to daily life in Indianapolis and doing an extremely poor job. My first day of being back, after school, I called one of my good friends, Shira, who went on the trip with me, sobbing. I repeatedly asked her why I was not home in Israel. Why, when I woke up in the morning, I was not greeted by 3 sleepy hellos from my roommates. Why I was not bombarded with questions about what I was going to wear to hike Masada, float the Dead Sea, or walk the streets of the old city in. Why was my room so quiet? I simply could not comprehend the silence. These past 4 weeks, I have been so busy mourning the fact that I'm no longer in Israel that I had not made the time to process what I witnessed in Poland. In fact, it wasn't until Debbie Barton Grant asked me to speak this evening that I was even willing to look at the photos that I took of the remnants of the Holocaust. So after accepting the invitation to speak this evening, I hung up the phone and I became extremely frustrated. And my mom said, "Tahlia, we were having such a nice breakfast, what's wrong?" And I said, no matter the makeup of this evening's audience, I know that a select few, if any at all, will be able to truly comprehend what I'm saying about my trip, about what I'm saying about walking through the concentration camps. And the truth is, when asked this question, how has the trip impacted you? My answer is, I don't know. I'm still unsure. And I'm unsure because it's such an emotional trip that I haven't had the time to process what I witnessed. And I was apprehensive about speaking tonight because I was unsure of how to convey my emotions to an audience that had not walked the death march from Auschwitz to Birkenau with me. An audience who did not hold my hand as I touched scratch marks made by human nails and the gas chambers of my Donnik. An audience that did not walk the perimeter of what was left with Treblinka with me and did not answer me when I asked how flowers could grow in blood-soaked soil. And so the truth is that I do not know. And by telling you that I do not know, I run the risk of you thinking that I'm avoiding the topic or that I cannot fulfill the task that is being asked of me tonight. Because in today's society, the phrase "I do not know" means that the person who is saying "I do not know" is either stupid or being evasive. However, I am none of these things. I simply do not have the linguistic ability at this point in time to form cohesive sentences that will convey my emotions as I walked through the camps. There is not a sufficient enough adjective to describe the evil that occurred there, because there are no words for the atrocities that men committed against those who are made up of the same flesh, bone, and now dust. I cannot comprehend how men killed 6 million of us. I do not know how men murdered babies in their mother's arms. I'm an 18-year-old girl who in society's eyes is technically an adult, but in the grand scheme of life, I'm still a mere child. So how is a child supposed to comprehend how human beings like me are able to make 6 million individuals cease to exist, to stop breathing, to stop living, to stop singing, to stop dancing? I do not know. But what this trip has forced me to do is look at the world with a more critical eye. Okay, to look at the world with a more critical eye and to recognize what I do know. And so I know that I'm an extremely happy-go-lucky child. I know that I seek the good in every individual and situation. I know that I believe that human beings are inherently good. And if I had not traveled to Israel and landed in Ben Gurion Airport directly after looking at the ashes of 60,000 Jews in Majdanek, I'm not sure I'd be able to stand before you today and say that I believe that human beings are capable of doing good. If I did not listen to the story of how an SS officer warned Paul, warned Paul, the Holocaust survivor that traveled with us, that the Nazis were on the way to the village that Paul was hiding in, so he had time to escape, I would not believe that humanity is capable of doing good. If I did not dance in the streets of Israel on Yom HaAtzmaut and stand in honor of our fallen soldiers on Yom HaZikaron, as the sound of the siren blared in the background, I would not believe that humanity is capable of doing good. And while sitting on my bed reflecting in Israel, reflecting on the previous day as I walked through Majdanek, I wrote, "Some men have flesh like human flesh, eyes like human eyes, hands that feel like human hands, and voices that sound like human voices but are devoid of humanity. These men do not possess compassion, empathy, or morality. And the worst part is, while they were killing our parents and our children, their parents and their children looked at them as if they were superheroes, Greek gods that have metamorphed into human beings. In fact, these men's actions may have surpassed society's perception of what evil is. But 300 men and women escaped Sobibor, 10 men rebelled and survived Treblinka, men, women, and children survived Auschwitz, Birkenau, and Majdanek. Amongst all of their evil and all of the horror that they are capable of creating, good has managed to prevail. So in response to the prompt, how has your trip impacted you? I am still unsure. I recognize that something inside of me has changed, but I am unable to pinpoint exactly what has shifted. But I do know that landing in Ben Gurion Airport felt as if I could breathe easy for the first time in weeks. It seemed as if the delegation and I had carried the names and stories of 6 million and had finally laid them to rest. I knew that after witnessing the atrocities of the Holocaust, that landing in Israel made the most sense. Life seemed to finally fit together. And I know that I still believe that humanity is capable of doing good. However, I'm still unable to sufficiently describe the emotional state that I was in while walking through the camps. March of the Living has only given me a taste, allowed me to experience a minute fraction of what it is truly like to be contained inside of the barbed wire. But it has allowed me to fully experience what it is like to come home for the first time in what seems like years. It has allowed me to recognize that it will be my generation, the children who go on the trips, the children who listen to the stories, who read the books and watch the documentaries that will become the living witnesses for the dead. I still do not have the words. I still do not have the answers, and I still do not know. But I do know, eventually, at some point in time, I'll be able to accept and be at peace with the girl who I was before the trip, the person I was walking through Majdanek, Auschwitz, Birkenau, Treblinka, the girl who I am after the trip, and the woman I have yet to become. Thank you.